And we're on a mission to provide these kids with a brand new pair of athletic shoes through our For Every Kid program. Because we know that something as simple as a pair of shoes can change a child's future. Students who receive these new shoes tell us things like, I can't believe these shoes are mine. I finally have something new of my own and don't feel left out. And my feet feel like they can breathe. We're joining forces with our friends here at 1025 The Game for the second annual Music City Celebrity Golf Tournament to help provide new shoes to kids across Nashville. It's all happening June 7th at the Hermitage Golf Course. Come join us for an afternoon of fellowship and fun, all in support of a great cause. Go to thegamenashville.com for more information and to register.
Now, your Game Center update.
I'm Nick Keyser. After trailing 2-0 to start the contest last night, the Colorado Avalanche fired back in the second period, knotting it up at 2. And then in the third period, it was defenseman Devon Tays who scored the game winner. Here's the call on the Altitude Sports Radio Network.
Face off one back for Sam Girard, near side point, high in the zone, Lehkonen. Turning, firing, save made, rebound is there for Tays! He scores! It's a taser from Taser!
And some more betting trouble coming out of the NFL as Quintez Cephas, CJ Moore, and Shaka Toney have been suspended indefinitely due to gambling. The Lions have subsequently released Cephas and Moore from the organization. And down in Jacksonville, the Nashville Sounds broke their 5-game losing streak thanks to a 3-run homer from Alex Jackson in the 9th inning, taking down the Jumbo Shrimp 3-1. Caleb Bosley pitched 5 innings, allowing 3 hits, 1 earned run, and striking out 5. You're listening to 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 1025 and 106.3.
A gunny performance. Do your job.
And the Tigers regain the lead.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Covering your teams and the news of the day.
Ladies and gentlemen,
this is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
Who is pleasant to listen to.
With Caroline Fenton, Willie Donick, and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason.
You are hands down my favorite radio personality of all time.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
With no further ado,
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. We are live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Game Studios, streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every single day. Our video streaming is brought to you by Superbook Sports. Ask D-Mase in 30 minutes. So get those calls, get those texts, get those questions in for D-Mase. The best question for D-Mase will win a nice prize, which we will reveal in 30 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Bob McGinn, longtime NFL insider, longtime Green Bay Packers insider, did a 3-part breakdown about some of the things that he's been hearing around the league, the evaluation of some of the position groups of the league. He did a breakdown of the S2 cognition test. Bryce Young passed with flying colors and 98% on this evaluation that tests reaction time and your ability to not be distracted by things, basically things that are very important for quarterbacks. Reaction time and being able to read things and make quick decisions, all very important for quarterbacks. CJ Stroud scored an 18. Absolutely awful. But Bob McGinn also did a breakdown of another position group, a position group that is of particular need for the Tennessee Titans, and it's the offensive line group. Now, I'll say the same thing about the offensive line evaluations that I said about the quarterback evaluations. Take everything with a grain of salt. This is all coming from evaluators and scouts that may or may not still be in the league. They could be doing whatever they can to throw people off about what their thoughts may be about this draft. So always take it with a grain of salt, especially with quarterbacks, but with any evaluation of any player. But one longtime personnel executive in the NFL said about this offensive line draft, this is the worst offensive line crowd in the history of the draft.
Hell.
Dramatic, right? We have like 15 guys in our top 150. For an entire 32-team league, we need 320 linemen. It's so bad there's going to be some reaches on offensive linemen in this draft. I think every lineman in the top 100 overall will go a half round to a full round, if not 2 rounds, higher than they normally would in a given year. Whoa. Now, again, grain of salt. This could just be, blowing smoke. But still, the evaluation of the offensive line, that's not the first time we've heard that. Dane Brugler said something very similar on Robby and Rexroad yesterday. Paul Kaharski said also something very similar about the offensive line group earlier this week when he was on with Robby and Rexroad. A lot of souring on the offensive linemen. So we're going to talk about not taking a quarterback earlier than you need to. We got to apply that same energy to every other position group as well.
Yeah, I was just looking at the top 31, like big boards, and has 4 or 5 offensive linemen. But because I'm not going to sit here and say that this guy they didn't do their evaluation on all of the offensive linemen that are eligible for the draft this year. But for you to say this is the worst offensive line draft ever.
Like, how do you know that?
Like, wow. So you scouted all these offensive linemen that are coming out this year? Or are you just
This
talking
is
about,
another piece of evidence that the draft is too late because people have too much time if they're doing that, okay? Let's get the draft should be tonight.
Or are you just talking about the top 10 offensive linemen? If you're just talking about the top 10 offensive linemen, still to say this is the worst offensive line draft ever, this person would have had to go back 50 years, 60 years, 70 years and do his her due diligence on every draft.
Yeah,
there's
some hyperbole.
I think it's a bit of hyperbole.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
yes, it is. It's awfully dramatic.
Exactly,
Well, the 76 draft, it was pretty bad.
Yeah.
Man, that 64. That 64 draft, man. They had nobody coming out that draft. Matter of fact, they didn't even draft the offensive lineman in that draft, in that 64 draft.
They drafted the Fonz from Happy Days.
It's just like, but, you're right, Willie and Caroline. 1, let's just get the draft going. 2, yes, it was just an over-exaggeration, over-embellishment of, what you're seeing. So it's sort of somewhere in the middle. Is this the greatest class? Probably not. We're top end? Probably not. Is it the worst? Probably not. It's sort of probably in between. You have some good offensive linemen, and there may be, you have maybe 1 or 2 that project to be potential Pro Bowl, all-pro players. I don't know if they project any one of these guys as gold jacket guys, but just because you don't project him as being a gold jacket guy doesn't mean he then can't win, play good enough to receive a gold jacket, being Hall of Fame. So, when you look at this class, I think it seems to be at least the top 10 guys, top 5 guys, seem to be a good class. Mm-hmm. It may not be as good as others, but there are some quality starters in this league. And I think what people have to understand is everybody's not going to be a Pro Bowler. Everybody's not going to be an All-Pro. Everybody's not going to wear a gold jacket. That doesn't mean they're not good players when they play. Some guys, I look at guys like Brad Hopkins. Brad Hopkins, and he and I have talked about this. Brad Hopkins, the only fault of his was the year he was drafted and the guys that came out either his year or a few years after. They were so good and Hall of Fame guys. And Brad was the best offensive lineman that we had next to Bruce. He was a top 5 tackle in the league, but the 3 guys ahead of him, or 4 guys ahead of him, well, 2 of them were Hall of Famers, or 3 of them end up getting gold jackets. That didn't diminish what Brad was as a player. He was a damn good player. But because of the era of football he played in with those tackles, people don't realize how good you were because you were playing, sort of in the shadows of, Brusselli or the big guy that played with Oakland when they were the Oakland Raiders. There were like 3 or 4 guys that were just like, these are guys are Hall of Fame guys. That's the same thing with wide receivers. I look at a guy like Jimmy Smith. He should be in the Hall of Fame. But because of the guys he played, that he was compared to, those were great guys. But it didn't diminish what Jimmy Smith did for the Jacksonville Jaguars. The guy was a player. He was one of the best receivers of his time. But he gets overshadowed because of Irvin and some of these Jerry Rice and Tim Brown and some of these other guys that are Hall of Famers. But it doesn't diminish who he was as a player. So these guys may not be who, we have seen in previous years, but that doesn't diminish what they can potentially be for their team.
And it's important to think about, too, just because these people are NFL scouts, evaluators, GMs, so on and so forth, that doesn't mean what they say is right. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's hard to project. I mean, Derrick Henry was a second-round pick. His evaluation going into the draft wasn't necessarily glowing. Mm-hmm. Look at Derrick Henry now. Justin Jefferson was the 4th wide receiver taken in the 2020 draft. You think the Eagles maybe regret taking Jalen Reagor, a pick before Justin Jefferson? So evaluators aren't always correct. They're not always truthful. And you have to think about who did it. Like, who is this NFL talent evaluator? Is it Bill Polian, the greatest GM in NFL history? Or is it, Jabroni Central? This no
I know that guy. Don't talk about him.
Sorry, I didn't mean it.
He's a good guy, okay?
Good guy. Hardworking man. But that's what we also have to consider is just because it's coming
JC.
from...
I call him JC, Jabroni Central.
Yeah.
He's JC to me.
Roni C. But yeah, that's the thing. Like, just because this person is an evaluator doesn't mean that they are right. Does it set off red flags? Totally. Should you still take it with a grain of salt? 100%. Draft season, man. It is just... I feel like I'm in a high school. Everybody's spreading rumors and gossiping about it.
Oh, man, I went to a big high school. We had a lot of those.
Rumors every day.
That's right. That song, I think, was playing in my high school when those rumors were going around.
Let's get your thoughts on it coming up next. 615-737-1025. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase. Ask D-Mase in 15 minutes. Get those questions in for D-Mase. 1025-1063 The Game.
Want to jump into the mind of a 15-year NFL vet? Well, here's your chance.
D-Mase.
It's Ask D-Mase.
Come on, bring them on.
Ask questions on football and life to Derek Mason every Friday at 12:30 on Ask D-Mase.
Don't mess with her. The skilled guy. Money reigns supreme.
On Caroline, Willy, and
D-Mase.
on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
We buy any car. We buy any car. We buy any car. Any. Did you know trading in your car at a dealer could cost you money? A recent study found consumers who trade in their car pay an average of $990 more. So don't trade in. Sell it to We Buy Any Car. Learn more and get your free online valuation now at WeBuyAnyCar.com. Find out how much your car's worth at We Buy Any Car.
Genesis Diamonds' once-a-year spring store-wide sale is here this weekend. 3 days of phenomenal savings across the board. You save up to 35% off Genesis' already guaranteed best prices. Rings, earrings, bracelets, bands, and more. Plus special financing. You can even trade in your old jewelry for some amazing new designs from our world-class designers who flew in just for this. Extra savings on GIA-certified diamonds as well as lab-grown diamonds. It's our biggest sale all year. This Friday through Sunday only. And only at Genesis Diamonds and luxury pre-owned Rolexes. Green Hills and Cool Springs. See store for details.
Bar Lines in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
Hey Nashville, Chef Phillip at Bar Lines at the Omni Hotel. Come try some of our new menu items like the Nashville Hot Fish and Chips, Nathan's Hot Dog Burn Ends, or the Nashville Chicken Jam Band. Go Preds.
Attending an event downtown? Dine at Bar Lines in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
This is Jim Mitchell at Mr. Transmission in Madison. Many of you care about a cure for cystic fibrosis. I care a lot and support the Saturday, May 6th golf tournament at Hendersonville's beautiful Country Hill Golf Course. It's the CureForOurFriends.org 9th annual golf tournament for cystic fibrosis. Tee off at 7:30 a.m. and 1 p.m. on May the 6th. Lots of prizes and sports stars, lunch and dinner provided for each tee time. Sign up at CureForOurFriends.org. That's CureForOurFriends.org.
This is Erykah Badu. Come take a journey with me on a trip of a lifetime.
It's the summer concert experience of a lifetime. It's the Unfollow Me Tour with Erykah Badu. Erykah Badu with Yasin Bey.
July 18th in Bridgestone Arena. Tickets on sale now. Available at Ticketmaster.com.
Want to weigh in on the conversation? It's a brain booster. Slide into our DMs. Or just text or call at 615-737-1025. Our phone line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Having some fun in the midday.
Okay, that's really fun.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
It's a good source of energy because it's live.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Ask D-Mase in 15 minutes. Get those questions in for D-Mase as D-Mase is getting his dance on, breaking it down over here.
We're talking about rumors. It's draft season. Now, can you remember the name of the band?
Oh, my goodness.
Who sings this song?
No, I can't. I do not remember the band's name.
So, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, man. I know he had a Jerry curl, didn't he? He had a nice little curl.
That was the era.
Yeah,
that was
he
the
had
era.
a curl. I know he had a curl, but I forgot the name of the band.
The Timex?
Yeah, Timex.
Timex blank blank.
Nope.
Timex Social Club.
Timex Social Club. There's 3 of them, wasn't it?
It's a fancy pants little band name.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I'll see if I can pull up a.
Was there
little
girls
picture
in the
here.
group too? I'm trying to remember. Was there girls in the group as well? Because back then, with Prince and all those, everybody else.
Let's get to your phones while we think on it. Let's get to your
We're
phones.
going down memory lane here.
Let's go.
Phone lines
We'll talk
are
about
driven
it at
by
our high
Wilson
school
County.
reunion coming up here.
Phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. One texter texts in, a concerned fan says, are you tired of talking about the draft yet? Are you tired of the speculation? It has to be exhausted.
Yes.
Willy is exhausted.
I'm with you.
I am fueled by it. I love waking up every morning and thinking, what is going to be the absolute bomb that is dropped today?
Why is the draft not tonight? What are we waiting on? What's going to change?
More rumors, man.
That's right.
Waiting on more rumors.
We're waiting on more,
more mock
S2
drafts.
scores.
More mock drafts.
More mock drafts.
I can't take it. I can't take it.
LZ from McMinnville texts in and says, how do we know that the Titans don't already think that they have their starting offensive line? Therefore, offensive line would just be depth picks. Looking at Dillard at left tackle, Brewer at left guard, Corey Levin at center, Brunskill at right guard, Nicholas Petit-Frere at right tackle. I don't know how the Titans feel. Honestly, if the Titans went into this starting offensive line, I wouldn't feel very great about it. I don't want to run it back with Aaron Brewer at guard.
I think, but then you have Corey Levin that could potentially play the center position. I do believe that this went from a position of dire need once Rand got in to a position of need. We need depth. We need guys that if anything happens to our front line guys, we got to be able to have the depth to continue to do what we're capable of doing as an offense. So I don't think it was once a dire need. Now it's just a need, because I do believe they think at this present time they have their left tackle for the next few years. They have their right tackle. They have their guard. They still got one of the guard positions. But they believe in this, in their center as well, even though he may be undersized. And he may not end up playing. Corey Levin might play. He can play center too, I believe. So I think they feel better now about their offensive line than they did at the end of the season.
And depth is never a bad thing.
No.
I love talking about the quarterbacks because this is such an intriguing quarterback draft. But there is a legitimate possibility that the Titans could take Paris Johnson or Peter Skoronski or another offensive lineman with the 11th overall pick. And I'm not going to look at it and say, dang, shouldn't have done that because you already got Aaron Brewer at guard. Yeah. No, you can never have enough depth. And I'll always say, even if it's not a specific position of need, take the best player available. If it's an edge rusher, if it's a quarterback, if it's a wide receiver, if it's an offensive lineman, if it's whatever it might be, take the best player available. Robert Texan says maybe C.J. Stroud did bad on the test on purpose so he wouldn't get drafted by one of the top teams that need a lot of work. Maybe he was wanting to fall a little bit so he could go to a good team.
Well, I mean, we've seen...
You guys like the conspiracy theories.
We've seen where guys...
Give me more conspiracy theories.
Hell, we've seen what the royalty have done. Eli Manning, he didn't want to go to the Chargers. And look at what he did. He forced his way out of there. We saw what John Elway did many years ago. We saw with there was another quarterback that ended up sort of doing some things to kind of get himself out of the draft position or didn't want a team to draft him. But it's not far-fetched, to believe because we've seen it before. But we didn't make a big deal about them. I'm saying if that happened. I don't know if that happened.
I think it's far-fetched.
I do wonder if anybody from C.J. Stroud's camp will let the info come out. It may not be the agent on the record, but maybe if there's a counter somewhere in the next few days, if this really gains any strength, to say, okay, wait a minute. C.J., maybe he didn't focus on the test, or hey, this is a bunch of baloney, right? He scored much better in this, and this. I wonder if there will be any of that or if he even needs any of that. Because sometimes destiny is what it is, right? Maybe he's just destined to be the 7th pick and not the 2nd pick. Like, it's not that big of a deal. It used to be. Remember, before the rookie salary cap, there was a big difference between being picked first, 15th, 30th in that first round. The money would vary a lot. Now it's basically slotted, right? You're not going to get...
It's slotted because they wanted to get away from me paying you all this money without you proving yourself, and then we're stuck with you if you don't, turn out to be the guy we thought you were. Another guy that did that was Bo Jackson. When Bo Jackson got drafted, Tampa had the first pick, I believe, and Bo was like, I'm playing baseball. I ain't going to Tampa. I'm playing baseball. So it has been done before, but not in that manner with a test.
It's purposely tanking your own draft stock is a dumb move.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't advise that.
If C.J. Stroud looked at it and the people who are advising him, I don't know, whoever's in his camp, his agent, his family, whoever it is, they looked at it and said, "Look, C.J., we think that going to Houston will be detrimental to your career." Those are conversations that you have behind closed doors. Eli Manning wasn't going to the Chargers workouts and purposely falling over and overthrowing receivers. So those were conversations that they had. And who's to say that if the Texans look at C.J. Stroud's S2 score and say, hey, we can't touch this guy, it doesn't mean that a more well-equipped team later on in the draft is all of a sudden going to want C.J. Stroud. You tank your stock for one team, you risk tanking your stock for 32 teams. So it's a little bit too much for me to get on board with, but crazier things have happened.
Yeah.
Wes in Clarksville texts in, says, I don't think that they care about the offensive line. You saw last year how they let Dennis Daly continue to play game after game. And that was a problem.
Yeah.
And that was also a different general manager.
Dennis Daly jerseys, I'm going to say, are probably not going to be
what
plentiful.
What number was he? 71? I think it was 71, yeah.
They will not be very plentiful in the pro shop this year, probably, in the stands.
Well, I will go buy
Does anybody have
and
one?
just change the name on the back.
Just throw a different nameplate on there?
I'll go get it if it's cheap and throw another name on the nameplate. But no, the Titans care about the offensive linemen. To say they don't
is crazy talk.
It's crazy. I just think they were in a position last year where it was like they were handcuffed. There was not much that they can do. Guys went down that they were depending on Taylor Lewan, and it wasn't Taylor's fault, his ACL. And they just didn't have the right players in position to be able to come in and get the job done.
There were two things that I looked at this past season that I deemed general manager malpractice by John Robinson. The first one, naming Malik Willis the backup quarterback. Malik Willis never should have touched the field. The second one was not giving more support or depth to the offensive line. Because it's not Taylor Lewan's fault that he tore his ACL. No. It is John Robinson's fault for not having a more certifiable option on the offensive line, knowing that Taylor Lewan hasn't been regularly available over the last few years.
I think that's fair. I don't know if he had too much faith in Radins, but there were a lot of signals saying that Radins would not be ready to jump into that spot, and they never really gave him a chance.
And we were talking about that at the beginning of the season.
Yeah. So they didn't give themselves as many options. They didn't have the Dennis Kelly kind of guy that they had in the past to plug in. And they had great success with that in the past when Lewan missed a lot of games. They found the right guy who could at least give them decent production there. But they did not have that guy last year.
And it caught up to the offense. It caught up to them. That ultimately was the downfall of this team. Ryan Tannehill gets hurt because the offensive line couldn't block worth a darn. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Ask D-Mase is coming up next. Get those questions in for D-Mase. The best question will win a nice little prize. We will reveal what that is coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 1025, 1063 The Game.
Good evening and welcome to the NFL Draft. It's draft season in the Music City. What will Titans GM Ran Carthon's first draft look like? Our team has you covered. Join Jared Stillman, Derek Mason, and Chris Sanders for Draft Night in Nashville. Thursday, April 27th at 6. Live from Twin Peaks and Cool Springs. Our coverage is presented by
Harmon Tractor and Equipment, B&B Flooring, Harmon Energy Group, D&M Development, and Smoky Mountain Tops.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
The team at Mercedes-Benz of Music City have done it again. Here's Edwin Vickery to explain.
4-time recipient of Best of the Best. Less than 10% of the dealers in the country receive this award. How did you do it? We say culture, eat strategy for lunch, because we can strategize all we want, but unless you have the right culture and chemistry in the dealership, it will not work.
Live the dream at Mercedes-Benz of Music City, mbofmc.com.
Hey, it's Jared for Hiller. Sometimes replacing equipment in your home can be overlooked until something breaks, but there's actually big problems that can come from outdated, old vintage HVAC systems. Older systems require more maintenance and results in higher utility bills. This month during Hiller's Vintage Showdown, they're giving away a free HVAC system to the owner of the oldest unit. It's easy to enter. Just go online to happyhiller.com and submit a picture of your old unit. Everybody wins with a trade-in credit and 0% interest financing for up to 48 months on replacement. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Hi, I'm Jamie with Souls for Souls, a global nonprofit based in Nashville that provides shoes and clothing to people across the world. We're joining forces with 102.5 The Game for the second annual Music City Celebrity Golf Tournament on June 7th at the Hermitage Golf Course. A portion of the proceeds from the tournament will provide new shoes to children experiencing homelessness right here in Nashville. I hope you'll join us for an afternoon of fellowship and fun, all in support of a great cause. Go to thegamenashville.com for more information and to register.
94.9 The Fan is your home for Hit City.
Tonight, your Nashville Sounds continue their road trip against Jacksonville. Swing and a miss, strike three. Sounds win. Pre-game at 5:50.
On your home of Nashville Sounds baseball. 94.9 The Fan and the Fan app.
Hey, this is Roman Yossi. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk. ESPN 102.5 The Game.
D-Mase. He played 15 years in the NFL.
Quick throw. Touchdown, Derek Mason.
He had over 12,000 receiving yards.
Midfield, and there he goes. 80 yards for the touchdown.
And now you can ask him anything. Have a question about football or life? Now's your time to ask D-Mase.
We'll welcome you in.
Now on Caroline, Willy, and
D-Mase.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase. It is time for Ask D-Mase.
Ask D-Mase. Come on.
Get those questions in for D-Mase, and you could win a pair of tickets to see Erykah Badu and Mos Def at Bridgestone Arena on July 18th. D-Mase will pick the best question, and you could win a chance to go see Erykah Badu. D-Mase, you ready?
Hey, let's get it going.
Let's get into it. Our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Kyle texts in and says, with less than a week until the draft, is there anything that a draft prospect can do to increase their value, or are they basically set?
I think you're at this point, we're a week, just under a week out. I don't know if there's anything you can do as a potential draftee to up your stock. That's, you've done everything you can do. Just don't get in trouble. That's what I said. And just don't let no news stories come out that are going to be detrimental to you. But I don't think there's anything you can do because they've watched all the film. They've had the interviews. They've had to work out. So you've done your job. Whatever it was, you've done it. And now it's up to the GM and the head coaches and coaches to figure out if you are a first-round pick, a sixth-round pick, or a free agent, So I don't think there's much a player at this point can do now.
The hay's in the barn.
Yes.
The
as
hay
they say.
is in the barn. I think the only thing that can help your draft stock is if another player at your position gets arrested or there's something that comes out. All of the damning evidence that we've seen come out right around draft day. We talked about Laramie Tunsil yesterday. That is a perfect example of dirty laundry that tends to come out right around this time.
I wonder if there will be more of that between now and the draft. Probably so.
Never know.
If there's something out there, I'm sure someone will find it. Wes is on the line with a question for D-Mase. What's up, Wes?
Man, y'all kind of know where my question's headed because it kind of got stolen from me from that text, but I got to call in and at least pick your brains with it anyways. Let me start by asking you a series of questions before I get to the real question, but let me start off by asking you if Marcus Mariota or even Jameis Winston, if either one of those two players got drafted by the Chiefs or the Patriots during the big Patriots era, do you think that they would have ended up differently in their careers than where they are at now?
Oh, man. Considering the franchise you just named, probably so. You would just think, not taking anything away from the Tennessee Titans and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but Tampa was in a different position back then when they drafted Jameis Winston, their franchise. So you figure either Jameis or Marcus, had they went to New England with Bill Belichick and that whole coaching staff and players, I think they probably would have had a better start to their career.
I also look at the other side, too. If Jimmy Garoppolo never ended up in San Francisco, would he have ever gone to a Super Bowl?
Exactly.
Probably not.
And that's my point.
Yeah.
That's kind of my point because didn't Eli Manning and Phillip Rivers have a big old situation during their draft? Is that correct?
So Eli Manning was drafted first overall to the Chargers. And if you go back even further, his dad, Archie Manning, was drafted by the New Orleans Saints when they were absolutely positively awful. And so what could have been a Hall of Fame career for Archie Manning if he was drafted by a better team wasn't, because he was drafted by a horrible team. So you can kind of see why Eli Manning was so, or at least his dad was so anti him being drafted by the Chargers, because he didn't like the place that the Chargers organization was in. So Phillip Rivers was drafted number 2 by the Giants, and they flopped.
Yeah.
Right, and I feel like if the Texans would have gotten Mariota, he would have had the same career. Same for Jameis Winston. So do you not think that it's really not bizarre to me to think that Stroud is sitting there like, yo, I'm not going to that division. I'm not playing for that team. And if they're really looking into this, they know my ability. So why would I even try on this? If this is going to make the Texans want me, I don't want to go there. I want to fall in the draft. Like, it's my career. Why would I want to waste 3 or 4 years in Houston? So that's my question.
Thank Wes. Appreciate the
Wes.
call. Hey, I mean, listen, we don't sit here and talk, and proclaim Houston be this model of what a franchise needs to be. They are far from that. And listen, I can get both sides. But I wouldn't have advised that. Like, I wouldn't advise you as a quarterback doing that on that particular test if these GMs are, looking at that test and put a lot of stock in it. If they're putting a lot of stock in it, then I need to go out there and do the best I can regardless of who it may benefit as far as team-wise. I go another path rather than that one.
And I try to think about it in normal people terms, right? If you're interviewing for a bunch of different jobs and there's one that you think is probably going to set you up for more success in the future, and there's another one that's also a really great opportunity, you're not going to tank the one interview that you don't think is as good as the other one just because you want the other one more. You wouldn't intentionally hurt yourself. You would do the best thing that you can do to set yourself up for success, and then you go from there.
Exactly.
You have the other conversation that you need to have. Indy Ben Texan says, question for D-Mase. Say both the Colts and the Titans take a first-round quarterback. Who do you believe can have more success developing them? Steichen and their offensive staff, or the Titans with Kelly and their offensive staff?
From what I've gathered about Charles London, he's a really good, developer of quarterbacks. He is, the quarterback's coach for the Tennessee Titans. You look at the organization and where it's headed. So it's like, okay, I'm looking at all this, and it leads me to believe that the Titans are a good landing spot, for a quarterback, because the organization is set up as such. Now, last year, y'all know how I felt last year. I felt that the quarterback's coach needed to be changed because I didn't see any development in Malik Willis. You told us there was no development in Woodside because you put him on a practice squad and elevated, Malik Willis. So that's telling me from a player standpoint, well, you thought Malik Willis was better than Woodside, which may not have been the case. It may have been some other reasons why you chose to do that. But from the outside looking in, it's his development, meaning Woodside, hasn't gotten to a point where you believe he's the backup quarterback and you'd rather go with the third rounder. But they've since changed quarterbacks coach. They got a new offensive coordinator. So this would be, I believe, an ideal spot. Not because of the head coach, but because of the organization as a whole. I think it's good for a young quarterback to come in here and sort of learn. And I don't know much about Indy, but hell, Indy has had a good track record of quarterbacks. Say what you want to say. Now, the last few, they've been older quarterbacks, minus Phillip Rivers, because Phillip Rivers did have his moments.
Yeah.
He did lead them to the playoffs. But the rest of them, they were old quarterbacks on teams that were beat up, and they were already developed. So you can't say, well, Indy isn't a good place because you're looking at the last two quarterbacks. They were veteran quarterbacks.
4 or 5, really.
Yeah,
they've
right.
had 5
Absolutely.
quarterbacks in the last 5 years. It was Jacoby Brissett, Phillip Rivers, Carson Wentz.
And they've developed
Ryan.
Jacoby Brissett. He was a solid starter, a really good backup.
He was a backup.
Exactly.
A backup that could win you some games if you need
Absolutely.
to. And I've been hearing a lot about Shane Steichen, who is the Colts' new head coach. I've heard a lot about he is like a quarterback whisperer. And I don't know anything about Shane Steichen, really. I just have his resume. And they say he is a quarterback whisperer. Well, with the Chargers, part of his career as an offensive coach was with Phillip Rivers, which you can't claim that Shane Steichen was the one that developed Phillip Rivers because Phillip Rivers was already developed.
Exactly.
This was, mid to late 2010s. Enter Justin Herbert. Well, he was only with Justin Herbert for 1 year before he went to the Eagles in 2021. And look at Jalen Hurts' 2021 season. After that year, we were all thinking that Jalen Hurts was going to get replaced. Now, maybe it was the work that Shane Steichen did in the offseason with Jalen Hurts that turned him into maybe he's getting replaced. Is Jalen Hurts a backup to now just signed the highest contract AAV-wise in the history of the NFL? Maybe that was Shane Steichen's magic behind the scenes. Maybe it was a combination of that and also adding A.J. Brown and having the best offensive line in the league and having the best defense in the league. So it's tough for me to kind of pinpoint what was Shane Steichen. Like, is Justin Herbert what he is because of his 1 year with Shane Steichen? Or, you see what I'm saying?
Is it a combination of a few things?
It's hard for me to evaluate really, truly what Shane Steichen is.
Okay, got one for you, D-Mase. This one just came down. For the first time since 1968 in college games, clocks will no longer stop on first down. Now, that's going to change.
Yeah.
the college game a lot. I guess they're trying to keep the game moving a little bit more, but certainly changes the 2-minute drill at the end of games, at the end of the half. Do you like the rule?
I do. I do like the rule. I think it puts everyone back on the even playing ground, at least like the big boys. It put them back on the even playing ground, because I've always hated that. You get a first down, the clock stops. No, why does the clock stop? Let it keep going. That has nothing to do. The first down extends the play. Well, the clock should keep going. If it extends the play, I can see if, you don't make a first down and it's a turnover on downs, then the clock stops. I understand that. But if we're continue to go, then let's roll with it. Now, does it specify whether in 2 minutes it will stop or?
Oh yeah, I think it's now going to be like the NFL.
Oh well, I'm in agreement with it.
I am too.
Get back on
like
the football.
It.
Let's go.
College games take too long.
I love college football. My heart beats for college football. Mm-hmm. College football games have no business being 4 hours long. I mean, that is ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And if we're going to look at college football being the developmental league for the NFL, make the rules the same.
Like the whole, when you fall down, you should be able to get back up if nobody touched you. I never understood that rule
I wonder if there will be
in my
some
life.
Thought on that.
Like you could be running wide open by yourself and all of a sudden you trip. We've seen it done. It could be the biggest moment of your life or a national championship game and you run in and you just lose balance and trip and you lose because of that. No, you should be able to get up if nobody's touched you and run more.
Imagine if the Auburn kick six never happened.
Exactly.
Because he got too ahead of himself and tripped.
It's just like, man, come on. Please stop it.
More questions for D-Mase coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, and tune into Nashville's best NFL draft coverage on 102.5 and 106.3. The Game for the first 3 rounds on Thursday, April 27th, and Friday, April 28th. That's next Thursday and Friday. Coverage presented by Parman Tractor and Equipment, thenewcumberland.com, Smoky Mountaintops, Parman Energy, and B&B Flooring. 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Every Wednesday at 8:30. Join Robby and Rexroad for The Choice is Yours.
2 sports questions, 2 non-sports questions.
They'll answer a couple of questions about life and sports. The Choice is Yours is built by Jarrett Companies. You have a choice. So when you have a need for site and utility work, fire protection, concrete and asphalt services, the choice is simple. It's Jarrett Companies. For more, visit JarrettCompaniesInc.com. The Choice is Yours. Wednesdays at 8:30 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Do you have a VA loan? In this housing market, homeowners with VA loans have access to a ton of instant cash. Hey, Willy Donick here. Do you need cash to pay off credit cards and other high-interest loans? How does a check for 80 or 90 grand sound right now? Loan Pronto is helping veterans every day get the money they need with a quick and easy zero-cost cash-out refi with zero closing costs. With a VA loan, it's really cool because you can access up to 100% of your home's value. That's 100%. Use that money to pay off credit cards, home equity lines, car loan. Consolidate all your payments into one check per month and close in 2 weeks. Most homeowners who do this end up cutting their overall monthly payments by $800. And Loan Pronto's all-digital process makes it fast and easy. They're doing loans with super low APRs, and they love working with veterans. Call now. See what your options are. Call Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
312 Pizza Company is your spot for the best Chicago-style eats right here in Nashville. From thin crust pizza to deep dish pizza to Italian beef sandwiches and Chicago dogs. Doesn't get much better than that. Until now. 312 Pizza Company is now serving up their award-winning pizza by the slice. All day, every day. Don't have time to wait for a full pie? No problem. Get a slice instead. Order a full pie but want a little more? Add another slice. Do it. Honestly, just go get a slice. 312 Pizza Company. Nashville's authentic Chicago pizzeria. Go get a slice.
Hey, are you seeking relief? Maybe you just want to enhance your day or night. Did you know there are legal THC products available right here in Tennessee? Yeah, really. You can have legal THC products shipped directly to the comfort of your home. Yes, comfort in cannabis is only a website away. Visit greentreescompany.com. That's Green Trees with a Z, and change your life today.
Sometimes he gets lonely and needs some company.
10 for 17 for 45 yards in his career with 1 interception.
This is one of those years where it's a step back for them.
And that'll create more one-on-one situations and make it easier for him to throw the ball down the field.
It's Stillman and Company.
You've got real talent.
With Jared Stillman. Weekdays from 2 to 6 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app. Having some fun in the midday.
Yeah, it's awesome.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
D-Mase.
He played 15 years in the NFL.
Quick throw. Touchdown, Derek Mason.
He had over 12,000 receiving yards.
Midfield, and there he goes. 80 yards for the touchdown.
And now you can ask him anything. Have a question about football or life? Now's your time to ask D-Mase.
We'll welcome you in.
Now on Caroline, Willy, and
D-Mase.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Ask D-Mase. The best question for Ask D-Mase will win a pair of tickets to see Erykah Badu and Mos Def at Bridgestone Arena on July 18th. So let's get into it. Your questions for D-Mase. We'll take your calls, your texts. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Wes in Clarksville texts in, says, if you were the NFL commissioner for one day, what NFL rule would you change and why?
Oh, boy. What NFL rule would I change and why? I would go back to the old overtime rules. Just keep it. And listen, I understand we've been playing 60 minutes, 4 quarters of football. If we got to play an extra quarter of football, whoever scores first, you win. That's just the way it is. I mean, we all, are fighting hard and playing hard. And, if I score, no, you shouldn't get an opportunity to score. You should have stopped me. And then you get your opportunity to score. Again, this goes back to I'm giving you a participation trophy because they scored. I'm giving you an opportunity to score too. Or I'm going to give you the trophy so you can feel good about yourself. No. No, you couldn't stop them. So be it. You had your opportunity. Your opportunity was one. You should have called heads instead of tails. That was your first opportunity. Your second opportunity was, well, you let that team just go on either one play and score, or because you should have been in defense to not allow that, or you had 10 plays to stop this team and you couldn't do it. That means you don't deserve to win. Let's move forward.
Fair point.
There you go.
One texter asked D-Mase, what was the most difficult route for you to learn and run correctly?
Neither. Not one. And I honestly mean that. There was not one route. I mean, routes are not complex anyway. Now, some guys, because of, some guys are a little stiffer than others. Some guys have a, problem with dropping their hips and getting in and out of breaks, than others do. But, I didn't have that problem, because that was one of my things. I wanted to be a technician when it came to route running. I had good teaching from coaches. It was started at, college. With Charlie Baggett and Skip Pete, and those guys being in the NFL and then coming back, telling me and teaching me, other players that came back. So I never had a problem with any routes. Like, what you want to run? Okay, I'm gonna do it.
That's why he's the GOAT.
Yeah.
Spoken like a true pro.
But I always like, how do you want me to run this? Like, yeah. I know a bench people, BENCH, bench route or something else. It was like, how do you want me to run this route against certain coverages? That probably was the extent to it. But once I understood how they wanted me to run it versus different coverages, then I was good.
Got one from Xavier here. D-Mase, on the OT topic, do you think college OT should be the same as the NFL? Because college OT is exciting.
College OT is exciting. Now I'm no longer the commissioner, and I really don't care about the overtime rules. But I think there's a bit of when you're talking college OT, I think there's this excitement about it that people just love. It may go long, and we hate that, all in all. But there's an excitement, like, okay, because there's a certain point where you got to go for 2 points. No longer can you kick a field goal. You got to go for 2 points. And that's exciting,
That's how LSU beat Alabama this past year. They win for 2.
So I think if the NFL, I think that's one thing. Like, if you're going to, I am not the commissioner anymore. I'm just a player or a coach. I think that rule works out better because after the first 2, it's like, okay, if you score, now you got to go for a 2-point, And if you don't get it, then so be it.
Then the ball's in their court,
exactly,
quite literally.
Absolutely.
Tom Texan says, which defensive back or cornerback talked the most smack and couldn't back it up?
Oh, my. Wow. I thought you were about to say just talk a lot of smack. I don't think there was starting guys. I don't think there were many starting guys or any starting guys that I went against that talked trash but couldn't back it up. Now, they may have talked trash and, I may have beaten them.
And you just smoked
I may
them.
have beaten, but that doesn't mean that they were not good defensive backs. I just got the better of them at that particular moment or that game. And they may have come back and got the best of me. I always go back to, I remember playing Cincinnati, and they had double coverage me. They put double coverage on me the first game, and I was frustrated and everything else. And so I went after the game. I was like, listen, yeah, they can take me out of the game. They double cover me all the time. Of course they can take me out. I want to see them play me one-on-one.
Big
the
mistake.
Next time we played Cincinnati that season, later on in that season, because it had all been drumming up now. I had probably one of my worst games.
Oh, no.
I was just, that's why after that, I didn't say anything else. I just went out there and played. Like, I will let my play do the talking rather saying something after the game or before the game. Now, during the game, we could talk, but I think it came back to bite me.
Don't need to create your bulletin board material.
Yeah.
Here's one, and this was actually given to us on the tweet line, but we've talked so much about the S2 cognitive cognition. What did we say? Test is probably the wrong term.
Evaluation.
That's got all the scuttlebutt going on CJ Stroud. This is from Jorge. I'm a lead data scientist at a Fortune 500 company, and the data that's being reported about correlation between a high test score and a high quarterback play in the NFL is not sufficient in terms of sample size and experiment designs to make a decision or even causation. And we're going by this article. It's really more hearsay. I don't know the people that are quoted in the article, how much data they actually have, but based on what Jorge is saying, he's probably right. We're taking this to be the truth, and we don't have all the data. But you've been sort of saying that.
Yeah, and that's what I said. You got to give me some other things than just putting out these young men test scores and saying, well, it doesn't necessarily mean if you if you score high that you're going to be a great quarterback, but it does mean if you score low, then you're not going to do as well. And again, I go back to, well, you got to give me a little bit more. You can't just throw these things at me, because what you're throwing at me, it's sort of skewing it the way you want me to believe, or what you want me to believe about, this is, not a test, but this particular, I want to say test, but it's not a test.
It's not like the
evaluation,
like a
sort of
classroom test that you think about that you bubble in A, B, C, D.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you got to give me the particulars. You got to give me some more stuff that goes along with this. I want to see, well, of those quarterbacks that scored low, how many of those quarterbacks would you have projected to be starters in the NFL or even on NFL rosters? You can't just say, well, this is what, these are the numbers that we have, because obviously you've been doing this test for a while. So you need to, if you want me to truly buy into this test, and I'm not saying the test, it's flawed or anything else. I'm just saying if you want me to truly buy into it, you got to give me everything, like all of the tests, so I can then better understand where you're coming from.
And I think, too, it's since it is very new, we can poke a lot of holes into it. And since it is very new, but we still have enough of a sample size to say, hey, the guys that score high, a lot of them have ended up being elite, or rather the elite quarterbacks have scored high. Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow. So we can use that small sample size to say, hey, the ones that are elite scored high. But it's not necessarily a causation of if you score high, you'll be elite. From that small sample size, it has shown the ones that score low don't perform very well. But exactly to your point, let's dig a little bit deeper.
Yeah. Like, who were those guys?
If I score low and I don't end up very well in the NFL, well, that probably makes sense.
Well, Carolina.
That checks out. Yeah, I'm a Bryce Young stature out here. Of course, I'm not gonna perform very well. So yeah, I think it is fair, and I think the Wonderlic being a very antiquated way that we look at quarterbacks or just players in general, because we have such a massive sample size of being able to say, this is silly. Like, why are we asking these players the state capitals? That's not going to, translate to the field. We're not there with the S2 cognition test. Will we ever get there? Maybe not. Maybe this will actually show that this is the closest thing to evaluate reaction time and analysis and all of those things. But maybe it will come out where it says, hey, valuable, but it's not everything.
Yeah.
Another texter texts in with a question for D-Mase. Who do you think is the best receiver in the league right now?
Ooh, best receiver in the league right now. Man. Jamar Chase, Jefferson, I guess the two LSU boys are 1, 2. I mean, it's hard for me to. Okay. Jefferson and Chase, they are, because again, I go back to body of work, and they've been in the NFL, both of them, 3 years?
Jefferson's been in for 2.
2 and
Chase. I'm sorry, 3 and 2 respectively.
3 and 2. Okay. So in their short body of work, they have shown that barring injury, that the expected numbers should be Hall of Fame numbers based upon what they've done in a short amount of time. And I'm always the one, listen, you got to put together a body, because I've seen guys have 2 or 3 great seasons and then they fall off the map. Not to say that Chase and Jefferson are going to do that, because I don't think they will. I think they will only get better unless injury is involved in this. But when I look at guys that have a body of work, Diggs has a body of work. D-Hop has a body of work. Why am I forgetting his name now? From Tampa.
Mike Evans?
Mike Evans has a body of work. That's how I look at receivers. Mike Evans quietly has had basically every year he's been in the NFL, it's been over 1,000 yards, 1,100 yards. And everybody knows he's getting the ball.
Tyreek is another one.
Tyreek Hill is another one. They have they have a bigger body of work. Not to say that Jamar Chase and Jefferson won't get there, because I think they will. But if you're saying who's the best receiver, I'm not going by 1, 2 seasons. They are up there, Chase and Jefferson. But the one guy that I love, D-Hop. That's like that dude I haven't seen. He catches everything. Everything that you throw his way, he catches. Sort of like Megatron. When you threw the ball to Megatron, Calvin Johnson, he has the best nickname ever in football.
It is a good one.
Megatron, ever. When you threw him the ball, you didn't even think about whether it's going to be caught or not. He was going to catch it. D-Hop is the same way. I've always compared him to Chris Carter. Chris Carter was another one. You throw him the ball anywhere, in his range, he's catching everything. And D-Hop is the same way to me.
It's whenever you ask that question, I think you always have to specify who has had the best career.
Exactly.
D-Hop, Julio was another one. Who would I rather have on my team right now? Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle.
Yes, exactly.
The young receivers that look very promising. Ask D-Mase. Appreciate everybody for sending in their questions for Ask D-Mase. But coming up next, this time next week, we will know what the Titans have decided to do with their first round pick. But did we maybe get a little bit of an insight of what they could be doing this time next week? We'll get into that coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen. It's time for another Kubota field event at Coleman Tractor of White House. Their biggest sale event of the year will take place in White House on Saturday, April 22nd. Don't miss this perfect opportunity to demo Kubota tractors, zero-turn mowers, and more. Take advantage of Kubota's competitive financing offers. Receive a coupon for up to $250 off select purchases. Plus, enter to win prizes and free barbecue lunch from 11 to 1. Try it and buy it during the Kubota field event Saturday, April 22nd from 9 to 2 p.m. at Coleman Tractor of White House at 3613 Highway 31 West. Houston Clinic Orthopedics at TriStar Stonecrest in Smyrna offers world-class orthopedic care. The doctors at this location specialize in hand, knee, shoulder, hip, foot, ankle, and spine. Make better use of your time at Houston Clinic Orthopedics with on-site diagnostics and testing, timely appointments, and easy access to the facility. Get back to enjoying life. Schedule your appointment online at tn.houston.com. Houston Clinic Orthopedics at TriStar Stonecrest in Smyrna. When experience matters, trust Houston Clinic Orthopedics.
I'm Howard Mackler, founder of Innovation Refunds. You've heard me talking about the payroll tax refund for months. If you own a business, even if you've asked your CPA about this, you owe it to yourself to take another look. We provide a licensed and insured tax attorney who evaluates your company at my expense to determine eligibility. Businesses of all types can qualify, so go to getrefunds.com to potentially get a payroll tax refund of up to $26,000 per employee. Download the Innovation Refunds app or go to getrefunds.com, getrefunds.com.
Your Game Center update.
This update is brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. I'm Nick Keyser. After trailing 2-0 to start the contest last night, the Colorado Avalanche fired back in the second period, knotting it up at 2. And then in the third period, it was defenseman Devon Tays who scored the game winner. Here's the call on the Altitude Sports Radio Network.
Face off one back for Sam Girard, near side point, high in the zone. Lehkonen turning, firing, save made. Rebound is there for Tays. He scores! It's a taser from Taser!
And some more betting trouble coming out of the NFL as Jamison Williams and Stanley Berryhill have been suspended for 6 games, while CJ Moore, Quintez Cephas, and Shaka Toney have been suspended indefinitely for betting on NFL games. And down in Jacksonville, the Nashville Sounds broke their 5-game losing streak thanks to a 3-run homer from Alex Jackson in the 9th inning, taking down the Jumbo Shrimp 3-1. Caleb Bosley pitched 5 innings, allowing 3 hits, 1 earned run, and striking out 5. This update is brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. You're listening to 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game or visit theGameNashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
Robby and Rex Road. Chase and Michelle.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase.
Stone and Company.
Nashville's best sports talk.
Crank it up.
1025 and 1063.
Rank City scores. On both sides of the ball. One big possession. Touchdown, Middle Tennessee.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Covering your teams and the news of the day.
Ladies and gentlemen.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
Who is pleasant to listen to.
With Caroline Fenton, Willy Donick, and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason.
You are hands down my favorite radio personality of all time.
On 1025 and 1063, The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
With no further ado,
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 1025, 1063, The Game and the Game Nashville app. We're live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Game Studios, streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every single day. Our video streaming is brought to you by Superbook Sports. Kevin Ingram, voice of the Vanderbilt Commodores, will join us in 30 minutes. We'll get his thoughts on the Vandy, Tennessee baseball matchup this weekend. But by this time next week, we will be reacting to the Titans draft. We will be reacting to what the Titans did in round 1. And tell me if you guys think differently. Mm-hmm. I think of this year's draft, I have more anticipation, not necessarily anxiety, but anticipation about this draft than I have felt in a long, long time. And I don't know if it's because the Titans are such a question mark with Rand Carthon, what they could do in the first round. I don't know if it's because the quarterbacks are so intriguing and they have so many question marks surrounding them, but there is so much talent. I don't know what it is, but I'm anticipating this draft more so than I have in a draft in a long time.
Well, I was anticipating this whole off season because I've said that I thought this was the most important moving forward. This was the most important offseason for the Tennessee Titans to date, at least for me, because of the changing of the GM, because the quarterback situation and where this team is at, new stadium, just the whole makeup of this franchise at this particular time, because now they're sort of phasing out the older guys. It's sort of like it's almost like just the NFL goes in this 5-year cycle, 5-6 year cycle where they get their veteran guys and they try to ride them, especially good organizations, ride them as long as they can. And then the good ones find a way to sort of transition out of the older guys more gradually or more seamlessly. And you really don't see it, i.e. Pittsburgh, New England at one point, teams that win all the time. So Green Bay. So I look at the Titans, I always was, this offseason to me was always going to be exciting because of where this team has found themselves with GMs, the roster period, new stadium.
And I think it's so interesting and intriguing, specifically for the Titans for me, because as we get closer to the draft, we start to pick up on little breadcrumbs that lead us to where we think teams are going to go. I think now more than ever, it seems more clear that the Panthers are leaning toward Bryce Young. Maybe it's totally a smokescreen. You never know until draft night. But at least where it stands now, I can kind of confidently say that I think, my opinion, is that the Panthers will take Bryce Young. Mm-hmm. Haven't really picked up on any of that from the Tennessee Titans until I heard Diana Russini on Get Up yesterday. Now, Diana Russini is somebody who always gets Titans information. She seems like a Titans insider.
She has a track record.
She has a track
when
record of
she
knowing
speaks
stuff.
on something on the Titans, I'm paying attention.
Yes, that is
and you
exactly
know me,
how I feel.
I'm always quick to question when we play these sound clips. Where did they get that? Is it pure speculation, or have they talked to somebody? With Russini, I always feel like, with her track record, she has talked to somebody.
She knows. She's got the inside scoop on what's going on with the Tennessee Titans. And this is what Diana Russini had to say yesterday.
Todd, I don't get the sense that the Tennessee Titans would be willing to move all the way up to 3 for a quarterback, but I know that they are in the business of perhaps getting one.
Okay. So when Diana Russini says something about the Titans, we listen. She says that the Titans aren't really interested in moving up to 3. They're still interested in a quarterback. What do we make of it?
I like that strategy. I have been on the record as saying I am not for trading up in general, but especially for what we know about the volatility, what appears for these quarterbacks, is to me is just too much risk to give up future assets to move up. If though, the guy that you like is there at 11, then I'm all for it. If your scouts, if your data, if everything with your evaluation says take that guy, then do it.
The front end.
I always like wrong button, D-Mase. I would even consider trading down. I love the trading down thing. But yeah, quarterback, no question. But I'm not trading up to do it.
I want to, Nick, play that again, what Diana Russini said.
Todd, I don't get the sense that the Tennessee Titans would be willing to move all the way up to 3.
It was something that she said subsequently right after that.
For a quarterback, but I know that they are in the business of perhaps getting one.
There we go.
Yeah.
Perhaps getting one. They're in the business
so
of
if
perhaps
it falls to you. If it falls
one.
to you.
But isn't that what we've been saying? Like, they need a quarterback. They're going to eventually need a quarterback. So my thing is, she, as plugged in as we believe she is, and I think she is plugged in along with TD and Jim Wyatt, but she's not telling us anything that we don't know.
She's telling us that they may not be interested in trading up to 3.
Moving up. And I think I've been the only one that said it. Listen, if you believe that guy that you love is there and you think someone else is going to get him,
you have to trade up to go get him.
Get him. Do what if everybody believes that he's the guy for our franchise, then you get him. Other than that, if you don't believe that guy, let him fall to you. But if you think he's the guy, go get him because you don't want nobody else to get him. So I don't think it's earth-shattering news that we're hearing. It's good from the from the respect of, okay, we know she's plugged into the Titans.
Mm-hmm.
However it is, she's plugged in. So the information she's given us sort of go along with what we're thinking anyway. So, okay, I can see that. I understand what she's saying. She's not saying it's a definite, but she's saying, hey, listen, they're in the market for a quarterback. Well, duh.
But not moving up to 3 tells me one thing.
Yeah.
They're not interested in Bryce Young. They're not interested in C.J. Stroud. And they're probably not interested in Anthony Richardson. Because do we all agree Anthony Richardson likely won't fall to 11?
Probably not. But
he may.
He might.
That's the way right. You don't ever know how it's going to happen.
But if they loved him, they'd move up to go get him to ensure that they could get their guy.
I just don't like moving up. I'm not moving up no matter what. That's
she
me.
said they are not moving. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think I heard
Play
this.
it again, Nick.
Yeah, I think I heard this. Go ahead.
For a quarterback, but I know that they are in the business of perhaps getting
not moving up to number 3.
Yes, not moving up to number 3, but they can move up to 4,
9, 8.
She didn't say that they're not interested in moving up.
Exactly.
Just not 3. 5 could be in play with Seattle.
Because I think for them, 3 is trying to move up that far. Say if it's number 2 because Houston don't want to draft a quarterback and they're trying to move back. I think that they believe possibly that's too rich for them. Like that second spot is too rich for them, and we're not gonna, especially to a conference rival or division rival. I'm not gonna give you all these picks, Houston, just to get the quarterback. Maybe if it was Detroit or Philadelphia, no, I wouldn't do it with Philadelphia again either.
Number 3.
I wouldn't do it with Philadelphia, but some other team that's not so closely tied to us, we'll probably do it. But no, we're not doing it with Houston.
Another thing I do have to think about, though, is what do we always say whenever information gets out? It's because they want it to get out.
Sure. But
why do the Titans want this out?
That's why I'm trying to be as consistent as I can with my thought is there's different philosophies, right? Some people look, I got this guy. Mm-hmm. I want this guy. And if I got to trade up, if I got to trade back, I'm going to end up with this guy. My philosophy is let the draft come to you. Be okay with it if it goes any number of ways. Have your board and stick to that board. I don't think it's a good philosophy, especially this year, to come in and say, I've got to have a quarterback with my first pick. I don't sense that that's where the Titans are. Also, because they have a quarterback. They have Ryan Tannehill. They don't have to have a quarterback this year. They don't have to. So it all depends on how much
they have to have it.
Willy.
It depends on how much you like these guys.
Willy.
Not a quarterback. It's like when you go to the grocery store, if I have to have oranges and I go to the fruit section and the oranges are all awful, if I got to have oranges, I guess I got to go with the best orange I can find in there. If I go in there and I like oranges, I'd like to get oranges, but the oranges aren't on sale and they're bad, I'll pass. I'll go get apples. No. I'll go get grapes. I'll go get other stuff.
Really? You won't. You just go to another store and get the oranges.
This is the only store I've got. College football. The college football store.
You got a point there.
Yeah. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll get a full Stanley Cup playoff breakdown from Willy D coming up next. It's Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, and join Robby Stanley from 10 a.m. to noon tomorrow for another Kubota Field event at the Coleman Tractor and White House for their biggest sales event of the year. Demo Kubota tractors, zero-turn mowers, and more. That's Coleman Tractor of White House, located at 3613 Highway 31 West. This Saturday, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Chase, why do you look so excited?
Because I have big news concerning our show all this week. You have a chance this week to win Steve Miller Band tickets, First Bank Amphitheater on April 30th, and it's all courtesy of our friends at Green Trees Company. You know, they're a family-owned CBD and cannabis company in Hendersonville. Find them online at greentreescompany.com. That's with a Z.
Tune in to Chase and Michelle
this week,
and you can win some tickets.
Weekdays from 9 to 11 on 102.5,
106.3 The Game.
Hey, Robby, Stanley here, and season tickets for the Preds 2023-24 season are on sale now. Preds will be celebrating their 25th anniversary throughout next season. Full half and quarter season plans are available, and you can join the Loyal Legion today and receive the best seat locations at the best pricing and up to 50% off discounts on concessions throughout the season and more, plus priority access to the 2023 NHL Draft and awards, which are hosted right here in Nashville coming up this summer. Check it out at NashvillePredators.com/season tickets.
The designer jewelry event of the year is this weekend at Genesis Diamonds. See all new creations from the world's biggest names in jewelry. Store-wide savings up to 35% and zero-interest financing. Top designers are here with their newest creations: rings, earrings, pendants, bands, bracelets, many being shown for the first time. Extra savings on GIA-certified diamonds as well as lab-grown diamonds, too. Don't miss this once-a-year spring store-wide sale Friday through Sunday only at Genesis Diamonds and luxury pre-owned Rolexes, Green Hills, and Cool Springs. See store for details.
What if you could be credit card debt-free in 10 days and save as much as $1,000 a month? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. Willy here. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low monthly payment. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days, and a $50,000 loan would only cost you around $400 a month. Use that money to pay off high-interest credit cards or do a home improvement. You can access up to 90% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need an appraisal. Even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Stop the madness and say no to 24% interest fees. Call Loan Pronto today. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Hi, this is Jamie from Souls for Souls. I hope you can join us on June 7th at Hermitage Golf Course for the second annual Music City Celebrity Golf Tournament. We've partnered with 102.5 The Game to provide shoes to students experiencing homelessness right here in Nashville. Go to thegamenashville.com for more information and to register.
Want to see our smiling faces? You can watch us on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live.
We are good to go.
Presented by Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas. This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, do not miss Nashville's best NFL draft coverage on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. Join Jared Stillman, Derek Mason, and Chris Sanders as they broadcast live from Twin Peaks and Cool Springs, home of the 29-degree beer, on Thursday, April 27th. Willy D, we've got some pivotal games in the Stanley Cup playoffs coming up this weekend. Had a couple last night as well. What is the latest?
Well, it's been a lot of fun. Last night, a couple of teams that lost game one at home came up big with a had-to-have-it kind of performance. How about the Colorado Avalanche? Lost the first game to Seattle, down 2-0 in the second period in game two at home. Seattle, you're like if you're a Kraken fan going like, hey, I'm new to this. We're beating the defending champions again. This is easy, man. We got this.
If I'm a Seattle
this is easier
fan,
than I thought.
I'm thinking, who's saying this Stanley Cup trophy is that hard to win?
Because it's a breeze, man.
Easy for us.
This is a breeze.
Yeah.
And then Colorado got it cranking. It wasn't easy, though. I mean, they scored a couple in the second, boom, boom. And now you're thinking, okay, here comes the haymaker. Mm-hmm. But Seattle stayed in the game all the way to the end, and it took a lot for Colorado to win. Seattle's depth. This is the thing about this is how Vegas was really good in their first couple years. When you pick the whatever it is, the 8th best skater on every team, you come up with a lot of good players. You don't have a lot of superstars, but you get a lot of good players, and that's what Seattle's strength is depth. Their question has been goaltending, and it's interesting. Their goalie is Philip Grubauer, who the Avalanche cast off a couple years ago because he didn't play well in the playoffs. So now he's got a chance to play against his former team. It's really interesting theater here. Now Seattle got what they needed. They got a split. They're going back to Seattle. First ever playoff experience in a raucous environment. So Colorado's going to have to work for this a little bit.
Willie, what does because we've seen analytics when it comes to NFL. If you win this game, at this particular junction, or if you get home field advantage throughout the playoffs, your odds of winning goes up because you got to play. Everyone else has to play an extra game. In basketball, if you win the first game, then if you're the road team, then your chance of going up, winning the series goes up or goes down. How is it in hockey?
I think it's about the same. Okay. If you look, if you win game one, if you win game three when it's tied 1-1, your odds go way up. The probability goes up. It's not that different in hockey, I don't think. I would say there's a little less home ice advantage in hockey than there is in the NBA, in basketball. Definitely college basketball, I think, is the biggest home court advantage sport that there is. I remember back in the day in the NBA, it was really tough to win on the road. It was very, very tough in the playoffs to win on the road. I think it's not quite as tough now as it used to be. There's more parity than there was. But I do think it'll be interesting. Those environments in the NHL playoffs are amazing, and they will be in Winnipeg, who got their split on the road against Vegas. Vegas came up with a clutch win, tie game in the third period. Could have gone either way, in danger of going down 2-0. They pulled it out. Toronto exercised the demons last night.
Toronto fans can breathe a sigh, just the tiniest sigh of relief, because the series is tied now, but they did to Tampa Bay what Tampa Bay did to them and set all of Toronto ablaze.
You think Elliot Friedman feels better today?
I think his friends aren't wearing him out. Like he said, my friends are just being mean. Yesterday, he's like, they're like being mad. They're not just joking with me. They're mad at me. But they
pent-up anger.
They look like the better team. Like before the series, a lot of the talk was from Toronto. People was like, man, this is scary. It really looks like they should beat Tampa. They're just better than Tampa. They're deeper than Tampa. Well, that's what it looked like last night, especially with Tampa not having Victor Hedman and Eric Chernak. That's like the Predators going into a game without Roman Josi and Ryan McDonagh. Like that's two huge pieces. And speaking of Ryan McDonagh, Tampa no longer has Ryan McDonagh, who's been a strength for this Tampa team on those long journeys in the playoffs. So their depth already was a little bit suspect. So this is looking okay for Toronto, despite the nightmare in the first game. Maybe it made them stronger. Who knows, right? Sometimes you go through the fire. Like I was listening to a good interview with Mark Messier yesterday. He says, when you have to win 4 rounds, 4 best of 7, somewhere along the line, you're going to have struggles. Right. You're going to have adversity. So why not get it out of the way in the first game?
And that's kind of what Elliot was saying, that since the playoffs versus regular season, the style of play is so different. He said sometimes it takes guys, even veterans, sometimes it takes one game for them to remember, oh yeah, like the playoffs, it's a completely different level. It's so much more physical. It is so much more tough. So sometimes it does take a game or 2 or 3 to get settled in and to get into the series and keep yourself in the series.
What series are you surprised by?
I think I'm definitely most surprised by the Kraken and the way they're not looking at all overmatched by the Avalanche. The Avalanche, when you don't quite have the depth, the salary cap starts picking away at some of your players. When you have these, juggernauts like Tampa and Colorado had, it's not quite the same when you don't have Nazem Kadri and Andrei Burakovsky and some of that second wave. They've still got the superstars. But Cale Makar missed a lot of time down the stretch. He doesn't look like he's in gear yet. So that's something I think the Avs are going to need, is they need him to play like the superstar. McKinnon's there. Like McKinnon is all over the place, tough to contain. But they need some other guys, those complementary players, to chip in. The team that really looks deep and really tough in all areas right now is the Rangers. They have easily beaten the Devils in both games in New Jersey. Of course, a lot of the Ranger fans kind of seeped in there. They kind of went across the border into Jersey and kind of took over. Eli Manning was funny. I don't know if you saw him. He was on the broadcast last night. He was there with his kids. His daughter plays hockey, loves playing hockey, wants to be a goalie.
That's awesome.
We need to get her in touch with D-Mase. But like Eli was like, I don't know how to skate. I can't teach her anything, but she loves it. So we come to a lot of games.
Hop on the Metro North.
But I'm sure a lot of Giants fans are going, Eli, what are you doing? You can't root for the Rangers. He goes, but we live in Jersey. We're rooting for the Devils. But, man, he was surrounded by Ranger fans that were all over him. And the Rangers are just they look really good. All these guys, Tarasenko, Kane that they picked up, all the guys they had last year, that team looks like they're playing the best to me. So,
yeah, Willie, I was going to say, so the Rangers are outscoring the Devils 10-2 after 2 games, which is insane. And Derek, one thing that's also surprising if you want to look at this game when they play next, Alex Lyon for the Florida Panthers is a really fun goalie to watch. Young guy, he's coming in, he's helping them make their run. They look like a fun team to watch too, and they beat the Boston Bruins. They've evened the series.
And Patrice Bergeron, who
not
is
playing,
heart and soul, out for the next 2 games in Florida. So Alex Lyon is kind of like the out-of-nowhere goalie that nobody knew much about. He hadn't played very much. He gave them a big lift down the stretch, and he got the win in Boston in Game 2. So it's like the team has rallied around him. They've got Sergei Bobrovsky is their other goalie, $10 million a year.
Ooh.
But he's been there for several years. He hasn't played real well. So they've gone with this underdog number 3 goalie to start the year, minor leaguer for a lot of his career. You just never know what's going to happen. That's a good one to watch. Florida, remember, last year was the President's Trophy winner. They had more points than anybody. They got their clocks cleaned in the first round by Tampa. This year, barely get in the last couple of days. And here they are, even with the Bruins going back home. So that's a game to keep your eye on tonight. You got Dallas and Minnesota. No surprise, Joe Pavelski did not travel, will not play in the Stars Wild. I'd be surprised to see him in the rest of the series there, but he did make the road trip.
He was on the receiving end of that tough Dumba hit in Game 1.
Yep, and then you've got the Islanders going home. They'll be angry. They thought they got ripped off in Game 2. That place will be going nuts.
I thought they got ripped off in Game 2.
It'll be the first playoff game in their new building that they built on Long Island. And then the Kings host Edmonton after that split. That's been 2 really tight games in Edmonton. We'll see what happens at Game 3. Nick, have you seen anything on Fiala? Is he back in there tonight? I haven't seen anything one way or the other yet.
No, but one other thing I thought was interesting, Willie, was before most Game 2s were final, the away teams had a record of 7-3. Now the record is down the middle, and it's 8-8. So you have a deadlocked home and away record right now. It's going to change, but that beginning was very strange.
And that's kind of what you're asking, Derek. And I do feel like over the years, especially with the salary cap era, even though you got these amazing environments, you'd much rather be at home. And, of course, at home you get the last change, so that's an advantage in and of itself. It's kind of like the last licks for a baseball team. But it seems like it's closer to 50-50 every year. I'd have to go back year by year. It just seems like road teams are still able to find ways to win.
I know I'm for sure going to be watching the Stars Wild game tonight. That's been a series that I have been having so much fun watching and following since Game 1. But coming up next, we will be joined by Kevin Ingram, the voice of the Vanderbilt Commodores. Tennessee-Vanderbilt baseball series going on this weekend. I have a feeling it's going to be a little bit chippy. Going to be maybe some words exchanged down at Lindsey Nelson Stadium in Knoxville tonight. So we will get into that with Kevin Ingram coming up next. It's Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, and hey, come out to Bridgestone Arena tomorrow at 2 o'clock for the Nashville Predators Open House. The open house will include tours of the Predators locker room, the Lexus Lounge, the team store, and the chance to shoot on net to win 2 lower-level full season tickets for next season. Get more details at NashvillePredators.com/open house 1025-1063 The Game.
And time runs out on the Predator season.
The Predator season has come to an end.
It has been the privilege to serve as a general manager for the Nashville Predators.
And the transition to new general manager Barry Trotz has begun.
My vision for our hockey team, I want to be faster, more offensive.
What other changes are on the horizon?
There's a lot of really tough decisions.
Keep it locked on your home for Nashville. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Family Leisure invites you to vacation at home with a new spa, pool, patio furniture, or wood play gym this summer.
I really want a spa.
40 spas on display from Artesian, Best Spas, and American Select.
Prices starting as low as $29.99.
Family Leisure has over 100 sets of patio furniture with free delivery.
That sounds good to me, too.
We should really look at the wood play gyms for the kids. Family Leisure has the Diamond Point swing set on sale at only $24.99 installed. Family Leisure's vacation at home sale in Franklin and Antioch.
How's Wingstop sound? Crispy, juicy, classic wings. Made to order, cooked to perfection. and sauced and tossed in those 11 soul-satisfying flavors. Paired with hand-cut seasoned fries, house-made honey mustard, blue cheese, or signature Wingstop ranch. And of course, spicy Cajun fried corn. I think you've heard enough. Get your flavor delivered at wingstop.com.
Cards issued by Sutton Bank and Celtic Bank, members of FDIC. Terms and conditions apply.
What if you could do business without busy work? With Ramp, you can. Ramp is the future of finance with smart automation, corporate cards, and spend management. Just imagine, no more expense reports or shuffling wrinkled receipts. No more slogging through invoices or getting surprised by unexpected charges. Just your business's big idea with smart spend controls, automation that crushes busy work, and real-time insights so you can make it happen. In other words, Ramp completely reimagined finance to make it work for your business. Get set up, issue corporate cards, and start making payments in less than 15 minutes. See how Ramp does finance. Join today and get $250 just for signing up. Just go to ramp.com/sports. That's ramp.com/sports to get $250 for signing up. That's ramp.com/sports.
Saturday.
He drives one, deep left field. That goes Wade near the wall, and it's out of here.
Yeah, on the ground. Benaya, that's one. And a pair.
It's a battle in the National League as the Mets head to the San Francisco Bay to take on the Giants. Coverage begins at 2:30 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, this is John Hines, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Joining us now is Kevin Ingram, voice of the Vanderbilt Commodores. Kevin, appreciate you for joining us. Big series this weekend on the road in Knoxville for the Vandy baseball team. And I always look at kind of mid-April being the line of demarcation. Okay, now things are really heating up. You have a good sample size of conference play. And so far, since the mid-April point, Vanderbilt's season has looked a lot better and a lot more optimistic than Tennessee's has. But this doesn't make this series any less important. So what do you think are kind of the keys for Vanderbilt as they go on the road this weekend, taking on a pretty talented Tennessee team?
Yeah, I think you look at the records and what these teams have done. And by the way, thanks a lot for having me. Really appreciate it. Vanderbilt's gone 13-2. Tennessee has gone 5-10 in SEC play. But I think you throw a lot of that out. Anything can happen in these rivalry series. You know Tennessee's going to be extra cranked up with Vanderbilt coming in, and there'll be big crowds, and they'll be loud and rowdy. So it'll be a fun atmosphere over in Knoxville. But, yeah, I think for this Vanderbilt team, really a big key is the health of the pitching. We've seen each of the first two game starters miss a little time here in recent weeks. Carter Holton missed his start against Missouri 2 weeks ago, came back last Saturday, and was not very effective in the two-thirds of an inning that he pitched. He didn't make it through the first, and Tim Corbin pretty quickly went to the bullpen, and those guys did a great job. And Hunter Owen, he was sat down last weekend, and I'm not sure of his status for this week. Devin Futrella has been able to make all of his starts in that Sunday role, and he's been terrific. But, I think the health of the starting pitching for Vanderbilt, I think that's where a lot of it starts for this series. But, gosh, the Commodore pitching has been so good, whether it's been the starters or the guys out of the bullpen. I mean, there are several arms out of that pen last weekend that really saved the day in that series against South Carolina. But I know the formula Vanderbilt hopes for is, and especially Scott Brown and Tim Corbin, is that those Friday and Saturday starters will be able to go deep into games and give you a good chance to not use as much of your bullpen for as long and have a good chance to win.
Well, it's always, Kevin, to have these great in-state rivalries, whether it's UT Vandy, Lipscomb, Belmont, stuff like that. But has it become a big rivalry in regards to the SEC?
I think it has. I mean, there's some really good baseball rivalries around the Southeastern Conference, and for Vanderbilt, those rivals have kind of, they've changed some over the years. Florida, to me, has been really one mainstay for Vanderbilt in terms of baseball rivalries. That one's been really good over the years between the Commodores and the Gators, and both have won big and won national championships and all those things. This Vanderbilt and Tennessee rivalry has taken on certainly a different feel over the last few seasons that Tony Vitello has been at Tennessee. He's done a terrific job there, got him to the College World Series 2 years ago, and gosh, they had one of the best teams in the country last year, and before bowing out in the Super Regional against Notre Dame. But Tennessee came into Nashville last year and played great and got the sweep, and that was really big. Vanderbilt won 2 out of 3 when they played over in Knoxville 2 seasons ago in 2021. But, yeah, it definitely has taken on a different feel, and I think that's good for the state, good for college baseball. It's a lot of fun when these two teams get together, and they're old in-state rivals, and anytime they play in any sport, it's always a lot of fun. So, yeah, I think it has become one of the best rivalries in the conference. And again, it's always a great rivalry in any sport, but the baseball part of it has definitely ramped up in the last few years.
And Kevin, one of the things I think you'll agree that makes it even more spicy, just besides the fact that it's Vanderbilt, Tennessee, is they kind of go at it a little different, right? Tennessee's style is a little different than Vanderbilt's. We've heard about a little less about it from Tennessee's end this year, but there's no question that I think if they get it rolling this weekend, you're going to see some of that emotion that Tennessee kind of plays with. Vanderbilt's a little bit more even-keeled, although, Enrique Bradfield's a real spirited player. He shows emotion out there. But you know what I'm saying, the contrasting styles, the rivalry, it's different. It's beyond just the fact that it's Vanderbilt and Tennessee.
Yeah, well, I totally agree. And I think some of that is by design for Tennessee under Tony Vitello. I think they sort of like being different from what Vanderbilt does. Vanderbilt's very buttoned up and I don't want to say militaristic, but it's it has definitely that very buttoned up feel to it, the way Tim Corbin has gone about running his program over the years, and that served him well. He's been to Omaha 5 times and won 2 national championships and 2 runners up. But Tennessee, it's a much looser, more freewheeling style, and we saw it all last year when they had that. Gosh, I mean, they had such a great season last year, and just always very boisterous and loud, and the hats and fur coats and all that stuff. When they hit home runs, you don't see a lot of that over in Vanderbilt's dugout. But that is not to say the Vanderbilt guys don't get fired up, because you're exactly right. Enrique Bradfield shows a lot of emotion, as do a lot of these guys. You get the plate stomp after home runs, and they get fired up for their teammates. But it is a different style, a different feel for these two programs, and that's not to say one is right and one is wrong. It's just different ways of going about it. There are a lot of ways to win games, and both these teams have been very successful, especially in the last few seasons.
It makes for great theater. There's no question about it. And so, Kevin, you mentioned something at the beginning that I think a casual fan, let's just say you're a Tennessee fan or a Vanderbilt fan, and it's around this time of the year that you start focusing in on the college baseball season. You look at Tennessee's record at 5-10, and you're saying, well, what's going on? What's wrong with them? They were undefeated, or whatever. They were really the story of college baseball early. But this is their 4th straight series against a top 5 team. That's how good the SEC teams are. And as you know, Kevin, you don't play everybody. So they have got a very unbalanced, tough strength of schedule, and it's hurt them here in the last few weeks. But do not sleep on the talent of that team.
No doubt. I fully expect Tennessee to play really well in this series this weekend. But, yeah, you look back at who all they played. They played at Arkansas last weekend. They were ranked number 5. They played Florida at home a couple weekends back. They were ranked number 2. They won 1 out of 3 in that series, won 1 out of 3 at LSU back at the end of March and early April. They played Texas A&M, which is a really good team. They were ranked number 12, and Tennessee swept them. They lost all 3 against Missouri in the opening series to SEC play. So it's been really uneven. But, gosh, I mean, the weekend series have just been so difficult for Vanderbilt. It's sort of been the other way around. And no knock on Ole Miss or Mississippi State or Missouri or Georgia. Those were the first 4 series for Vanderbilt, and the Commodores in those games won 11-1. They swept the first 3 weekends and won 2 out of 3 against Georgia, and or 2 out of 3 against Missouri, I should say. And, just got off to a great start. And, man, you start stacking those wins, and regardless of what's in the second half of your schedule, you're in really good shape. But it feels like Vanderbilt's schedule is sort of going the other way. It's ramping up as we get deeper into conference play. You had South Carolina come in last weekend. They were ranked number 6. You got Tennessee this weekend on the road, which is going to be really tough. They've still got to play at Florida. They got to play at Alabama. You got Kentucky and Arkansas at home. Both those teams have been ranked in the top 10. So different looks to the schedule, but really difficult all the way around for both teams. When you get to the end of that 30-game grind, you definitely feel it, and you're going to play some good teams along the way.
Yeah, so keep an eye on that if you've been following it. We were just having a discussion about the NHL playoffs and how home ice advantage so far, and really the last few years, especially under the salary cap, it's maybe not as big as you would think. But in SEC baseball, if you take a look, there is a big home field advantage. I think. Look, when you go to Arkansas, you're lucky to survive out there. At LSU, in Gainesville, I mean, there are hostile atmospheres, big crowds. Vanderbilt obviously plays very well at home. Tennessee is 21-4 at home, 1-9 on the road. So if you think you're just going to roll into Knoxville, that atmosphere is going to be hostile.
Yeah, it really is. And that ballpark over in Knoxville is really small. I mean, just the field itself. It feels like every fly ball has a chance to be a home run. Even calling games over there, it's almost like you have to adjust your way of thinking. Especially, I've watched so many games at Hawkins Field, and you see the ball flight. You sort of know where it's going to land. In Tennessee, like I say, every fly ball feels like it has a chance to land in the bleachers or go over the fence. But yeah, that crowd's going to be cranked up. I mean, they're going to just be ready to roll this weekend. But gosh, you see a little bit of everything in some of these home ballparks. I mean, Arkansas, Vanderbilt had some wildlife to deal with in the stands when they were down there last year. I think there's like a squirrel or a possum.
Like actual wildlife. Yeah.
Yes, actual wildlife. Vanderbilt had a squirrel in the stands at Hawkins Field a couple weeks ago. That was interesting. It made its way off the foul screen and up the steps and down in front of the booth, and then I don't know where it went after that. But you see a little bit of everything. We went to Florida a couple years ago. And, of course, Vanderbilt has Enrique Bradfield, who, if he gets on first base, there's a good chance he's going to be standing on third base pretty soon. And Florida put about 1 million gallons of water over by first base to try to slow him down. They have the swamp where they play football. They have the swamp over by first base, too. But, yeah, you see a little bit of everything. I mean, Willie, you play in this league. I mean, it's really entertaining, some of the stuff you see around the Southeastern Conference. They love their baseball like everything else.
As an LSU fan, I know and love the rally possum very, very well.
Oh, my gosh.
Talk about wildlife. Last one for you, Kevin. Kevin Ingram is with us. We've been talking about the S2 cognition test and how a lot of NFL teams have utilized it to evaluate quarterbacks. But it's something that Tim Corbin in the Vanderbilt baseball program has used for the last several years. What do you know about the S2 cognition test? How has Tim Corbin been able to use it with the baseball team? And how reliable do you think it is in evaluating the potential of an athlete?
And does he have the announcers take the S2 test, Kevin, just to see if you have the cognitive skills to get the job done?
If I still have a job, then they probably haven't made me take the test.
But they are pretty high tech over there, aren't they? They've got a lot of stuff.
They really are. I don't know that I can. I don't know that I'm probably the right one to ask about that particular test, but they are very high tech in just the way they go about things, and they're very cutting edge. For Tim Corbin being an old school sort of guy, he definitely has new school ways of thinking and going about baseball. Whether it's all the work they do in the pitching lab, where they use lots of video work, and same thing with the hitters. It's really advanced, and it's really interesting to talk to those guys and see how they go about it. Whether it's Tim Corbin or it's Scott Brown, the pitching coach, or Mike Baxter, who's an outstanding hitting coach. Tyler Shoemaker, who works with the catchers, and all those guys. You talk to them, and it's just fascinating to hear them talk about how they go about trying to teach these guys the game and just trying to break down what all they're doing and try to figure out ways to make them better. But, yeah, it's a high-tech approach with still a lot of old-school sort of ways of teaching baseball. And I think it's interesting, too, just to watch teams take batting practice. And I was thinking about this last week when South Carolina was here. The way South Carolina does their BP and the way Vanderbilt does theirs are completely different. It's more of a professional type approach for South Carolina where, a few guys come in and hit and you got a bunch of dudes hanging out in the outfield. Vanderbilt, there's never any wasted motion. You got, Corbis is hitting ground balls, and you got machines working, throwing pop-ups, and guys practice bunting, and they bring the ball around and drop it in the basket. It's very interesting to watch different approaches for different teams. But it's like we were talking about with Vanderbilt and Tennessee earlier, different ways of winning games, and that's not to say there's one way that's right or wrong.
Kevin Ingram, voice of the Vanderbilt Commodores, appreciate you for joining us. As always, we'll chat soon.
Hey, anytime. Thanks a lot. Y'all have a great weekend.
All right, thanks, Kevin. You too. Coming up next, it's time for D-Mase to talk that talk.
You know it.
There's some interesting stuff happening in Brooklyn last night.
Caroline, Willy,
Very
D-Mase.
interesting.
102.5, 106.3 The Game.
The crowd is standing on its feet. It's in the hole! It's in the hole!
Join 1025 The Game for the second annual Music City Celebrity Golf Tournament benefiting Souls for Souls, June 7th at Hermitage Golf Course. Put your team together and come play with athletes, musicians, and other local celebs.
See the ball.
Support a great cause and have loads of fun. Plus, you'll have the chance to win awesome prizes. Sign up to play, sponsor, or donate at thegamenashville.com/golf.
Okay, let's tell you about Lee Company once again. Hey, I've been saying this a lot. It's Friday, and this is something that you should always be ready, because it may not be this Friday, but you might be sitting at work one of these Fridays and say, you know what, I was supposed to get this done and get this addressed at my business. We don't have a maintenance team, and we've got doors that are a problem or windows that are letting the air in, whatever it might be, a general maintenance problem. Well, all you got to do is go online at leecompany.com, make the appointment, and then your job is done. Let them take care of the problem. Let them know what it is, and then boom, you can get going to Knoxville if you want to go see the Vanderbilt Commodores and the Tennessee Vols, or you're ready to just be a couch potato at night when you get home with all these great games that are on and all the different sports. It's a great time of the year to be a sports fan. So the bottom line is you don't want to be bogged down by a maintenance problem. So let Lee Company take care of it. 615-567-1000 is the phone number. They're always just a phone call away, or just go to online at leecompany.com.
Genesis Diamonds' once-a-year spring store-wide sale is here this weekend. 3 days of phenomenal savings across the board. You save up to 35% off Genesis already guaranteed best prices. Rings, earrings, bracelets, bands, and more. Plus special financing. You can even trade in your old jewelry for some amazing new designs from our world-class designers who flew in just for this. Extra savings on GIA-certified diamonds as well as lab-grown diamonds. It's our biggest sale all year. This Friday through Sunday only. And only at Genesis Diamonds and Luxury Pre-Owned Rolex. Green Hills and Cool Springs. See store for details.
Harmon Energy is your one-stop petroleum solution across all of Tennessee, offering turnkey petroleum solutions for professionals in major industries, serving trucking fleets, construction companies, industrial plants, and more. Whether a large corporation or owner-operator, Harmon Energy has your diesel fuel, lubricant, DEF, and equipment needs. No matter how you're getting there, start with Parman. Visit ParmanEnergy.com for more info. Your Tennessee petroleum solution, providing totally outrageous customer service.
Bar Lines in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
Hey Nashville, it's Chef Phillip at Bar Lines at the Omni Hotel. Come try our new Nashville hot fish and chips. Beer battered black cod served over crispy fries or tots with Omni's own Nashville hot season blend. Served with chipotle slaw and malt vinegar tartar sauce.
Attending an event downtown? Dine at Bar Lines in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
Seems like everything costs more these days. Food, utilities, medical costs, you name it. But as prices go up, our family budget stays the same. Fortunately, with Farm Bureau Health Plan's Core Choice coverage, we can save $3,600 a year compared to the leading competitor. And we've got better coverage with a lower premium, lower deductible, free telehealth visits, and access to one of the largest networks available. Start saving today at FBHP.com or visit your local Farm Bureau office.
Bon appetit. Take some Titans.
Derrick Henry.
Some breads.
Roman Yossi.
Even some hoops.
Light fires. Wow.
Put it in a blender. And what do you have? Chase and Michelle.
Pretty incredible.
Call or text and weigh in.
The fastest 2 hours in sports radio. Weekday mornings at 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app. Having some fun in the midday.
Okay, that's really fun.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
It's a good source of energy because it's live.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app.
There are some people, Lakers are making that run, they get it to 14. You and LeBron have that exchange. There are people out there that say maybe you shouldn't do that with one of the better players in the game. What were you thinking?
I don't care. He's old. You know what I mean? I was waiting for that. I was expecting him to do that game 4, game 5. He wanted to say something when I got my 4th foul. He should have been saying that earlier on. But, you know, I poke bears. I don't respect no one until they come and give me 40. So I pride myself on, you know, what I do is defense and taking on any challenge that's on the board.
Those Memphis Grizzlies, Dylan Brooks, after game 2. Lakers take game 1.
Yes.
Grizzlies take game 2. It got a little chippy between Dylan Brooks and LeBron James. That was his response post-game. D-Mase, the official Derek Mason, Dylan Brooks rebuttal ahead of game 3 tomorrow night.
I mean, I love it. It's going to make for a very entertaining third game, which is at the crypto.com arena there.
Which, can I say, that is a ridiculous name for an arena.
I know.
That is so dumb.
I know.
So weird.
But please continue.
It went from the Forum to the Staple.
Staples was iconic.
The crypto.com arena. But it's going to make for an entertaining game. I love it when Dylan Brooks says, I like poking bears. It's like, okay, you poke one.
You poked one.
Now let's see what happens. But it's good for basketball. It's he's made himself out to be the villain, like the sort of like Lance Stevens, Draymond Green, some of these guys that like to be agitators. But, Dylan Brooks can back it up. I mean, he's not a great player. He's a good player. He plays a significant role on the Memphis team. So when he says something like that, you can't wait to see what LeBron James' response will be through his play, not necessarily through his words, because LeBron's not going to say anything. Maybe after the game, if they win, yes, which I believe they will win. But by his play, how aggressive will LeBron James be? Because this past game, LeBron James starting out, he wasn't as aggressive. I think he was leaning more so on Anthony Davis to get himself established, Austin Reeves, those guys to get themselves established, and then all of a sudden Batman will swoop in once the sign goes up. Here I come to save the day, but it didn't happen because they dug themselves too much of a hole. I look for the third game to be sort of back and forth again, but I believe the Lakers pull it out. Memphis is going to need Ja Morant eventually before this series ends. And even when he come back, you don't know how much of Ja Morant will be Ja Morant on the court with that hand injury. So that's going to be an intriguing series moving forward. Philly, Brooklyn last night.
Yeah, what happened? I didn't see much until I actually flipped it on right after Harden was ejected. Yes. So I didn't see all of the things that led up to it, but man,
it got very chippy. Claxton, who's the Nets center, young center, pretty good player. Doesn't have much of an offensive game. Defensive game is off the charts, but he's a young player. There must have been some back and forth with Joel Embiid. He ends up on offensive side of the floor, ends up getting a alley-oop, dunks it on Joel. Joel falls down. He steps over Joel,
which is you never do that. You don't
which is
do
a technical. But Joel then purposely, not inadvertently, purposely kicked the guy close to that area you don't want to kick. Exactly.
Between the legs.
He kicks him. And it was done deliberately. And they go back and they're trying to figure out, is it going to be a flagrant 1, a flagrant 2? Because a flagrant 2 means you're out of the game. Mm-hmm. They called it a flagrant 1. They said he kicked him, but he didn't kick him in that vital part. Well, damn it, he kicked you. He meant to kick you. Exactly. He meant to kick you. So that should have been that was egregious. He should have been thrown out of the game.
Which I think is so unfair. And compare that to the Draymond Green, Domantas Sabonis situation. Domantas Sabonis was holding on to Draymond Green's foot. Mm-hmm. Did he land with a little bit more force than necessary? Probably. Absolutely. Neither is innocent. But I would say what Draymond Green did was much less egregious than what happened last night with Joel Embiid.
Absolutely. Play that clip on Joel Embiid.
He'll come the other way. Mikal Bridges. My goodness. And Claxton, and down goes both of the players.
It looked like, did Embiid trip Claxton? Because it looked like he was looking over him. What a pass here from Bridges to Claxton. Now look at the stare down. It's kind of hard to tell there. There's the finish. And there's the stare down and the step over.
Ooh. Looked like one of the Rockettes with that kick.
And that
leave it to Kevin Harlan. He's always got the right.
And that was, and subsequently after that, that was the kick. So they didn't eject Joel Embiid, but then they end up ejecting Harding because he made a basketball move.
Yeah, this was after.
And he hit the guy with his hands, not on purpose, inadvertently. He hit the guy
near the sensitive area,
but more so in the stomach region.
It was like his gut.
Yeah, lower part.
It looked like it was above his waistband on his shorts.
Exactly. And they threw him out of the game.
So
they called
ridiculous.
that a flagrant too. So there's just been a lot of things going on. I mean, from player 1 to player 8, 9, 10, Philly's a better team. Philly will win this series. Philly is up, I think, 2-0 or 3-0. They're up 3-0. So Philly's going to sweep that series. Sac and Gold State, good game last night. High-scoring game. Even without Draymond Green, the Splash Brothers came out and played extremely well. And then they got some extra play by Mooney, who gave them 20 rebounds. I think he had close to double-digit points, their center. So he played a big role because of Draymond Green not there last night. That's going to be an intriguing series. I still pick Sac to win with Monk and De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis. That's a good team, the highest scoring team in the NBA with the NBA's, coach of the year in Brown. So that's going to be an intriguing season. I picked Sac to win. Phoenix won last night. Big game by Durant. Bigger game by I can't forget. I'm forgetting his name now.
Booker.
Devin Booker.
45.
He had 45 last night. But the Clippers were without obviously Paul George, but then Kawhi Leonard didn't play either, and they still only lost by a couple of points.
Pretty impressive.
But the big game, the games tonight: Boston, Atlanta, Cleveland, New York, Denver,
come on,
Minnesota.
Cavs. We got the '80s fight song going on here.
There we go. So that'll be a good game. Cleveland and New York will be a good game, a good series. But I'm waiting Saturday.
Any playoff game at Madison Square Garden with the Knicks. They haven't played too many playoff games the last. It's gonna be rocking with the organ. It's the best organ in sports. Right
Always.
up there.
Our NBA insider, Derek Mason. That's going to do it for us today. When we are back Monday at 11 a.m., it will be draft week. Stillman and Company is up next.
Be love and love on somebody. Peace.